I was chatting to somebody today about the Tartarian thing. I had an author on the channel not so long ago, and he showed me some interesting pictures about this, the civilization that never was, or it was, who knows. And then there was a documentary that came up about the Tartarian and the mud flats and these buildings that seem to have got buildings underneath them that across the world they're all these sort of strange what you might call Palladian style or sort of Georgian style buildings, and some more Baroque and what have you, all across the world, as if there was I suppose an educated mind that had control of the whole of the architecture at one time. And then he was talking about the big doors, and was it possible that these doors were made because people were actually larger in giant form, and that something had happened and these buildings were not quite as we were told that they were built, that actually they already existed in another civilization. Anyway, the whole point was I was chatting to somebody about this, and I sent him the documentary, and it showed airships and various things, and actually revealed some very interesting ideas. But this particular individual, he just poo-pooed it out of mind. He said, I watched this. He says, this is obviously it's a complete load of old rubbish, isn't it? It's just having a laugh, aren't you? The influence across the world and some of these buildings that came up, you know, we had some form of travel and people did see what other people were doing, and the influence is not quite what you make out. And I thought it was interesting that having this conversation with this person was the fact that they could just flatly refuse to even entertain an element of it. Admittedly, he did say that there were some questions that was difficult to answer, but he couldn't see that they wouldn't be easily answered in the normal way of things. Now, I might say that I could have positioned myself into in that same scenario, perhaps about 10 years ago, when I was very busy bringing up a family, and life was what you see it. What you see is what you get, very materialistic. We're all being sort of, got bills coming in. We've all got the need to get our children off to school and educated. We've got to please our clients, or we've got to satisfy our bosses. And then, you know, there's sort of just time to go and meet with friends and have a few beers, or relax in front of the telly, or go to the theatre or to the cinema or whatever, and then the hamster wheel starts again. And I get it. But in this day and age, of course, I've been spending a lot of time, as you know, talking about various things. I've been meeting some incredible people, not only in the physical world, but on Zoom with the interviews and things. And one's had to keep an open mind. And I think now I do have an incredibly open mind, so much so you're slightly aware that, oh, you could be being a bit gullible here to all sorts of stuff. So some stuff might be interesting in an open mind, such as certain medical procedures, which, by the way, this individual that I was speaking to earlier also believed there was nothing wrong with any of that, although we are beginning to see the drip feed of that in the newspapers and mainstream media. But it's still very interesting. It's still very interesting how stuff can be completely dismissed because it doesn't fit the idea of the world. And sometimes the idea of the world and where we're living in changes as you get older, as you get more wisdom, as you read more, as you talk to more people, as you're not so hassled by the system that we're in of having to earn a living, having to get the kids to school, having to get them educated, etc., and that you just do not have time to sort of even step back and go, why am I here? What is the purpose of life? What is it? Is this all there is? And it does seem that there is, of course, many different answers out there, and having an open mind to it surely must be the key. But at the same time, not being too gullible. Now, I speak to various people and people send me stuff, and some people are extremely negative and they go, oh my goodness, Richard, this is it, we've had it. There's no hope, there's no glean, there's nothing to hang on to. I don't know why you spout your optimism, because it's over. I mean, reading between the lines, that's what they say to me. And I think to myself, gosh, that is kind of like very fatalistic. It's almost as if you're in the same path as the other person who says everything I see is real and that's it. And then these other people are sort of going, no, 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 we know what's going on, but it's been too cleverly thought out, or the universe is going to blow up anyway. There's going to be a micronova or whatever it is. It's all a fait accompli. And so they seem to be in the same camp, but not with the same information, if you see what I mean, which is very interesting. And somewhere in between all of this are people who are either incredibly gullible and will accept everything, and then those people who can be skeptical to a degree and may say things like, well, I'm not really convinced about the flat earth thing, but then maybe I'm not convinced about the spherical earth thing. Maybe they are two arguments to get people to be distracted and arguing here and here on these 2 points, and perhaps the answer is a third way that has not been discussed because they don't want you to know that. And I am more trying to find that third way to things, because I think there is more to what we see and what we hear, and these extreme fatalistic views than is being said, if you like. I mean, for example, somebody sent me a book the other day about fighting a particular disease beginning with the letter C that everybody has gone, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's possible. And I spoke to somebody else who said, actually, that is the most easiest disease to get shot of. And you only need things like ascorbic acid and a certain amount of, cannabis and things like that will help, and a whole load of other bits and bobs, which, you know, in a more holistic way. Now, I don't know how true any of that is, but I am certainly open-minded, rather than having the big fear of this particular disease being thrust on us, and only one approved method that the medical profession and big pharma say is correct, especially after we've seen the debacle of the medical intervention. I think there is a lot of other ways of doing things, and more holistic and more groundbreaking. Anyway, in this book about this particular individual's more natural way of escaping from it, she says in the book that she used dreams as a way to contact her higher self, to make contact and have conversations and get answers which were really beneficial. And in the past, I would have thought, oh, well, that's just a load of old nonsense, isn't it, going to the dreams? But I think there's probably something in that. Now, there will be those people who will go, well, again, it's nonsense. You're talking rubbish, Richard. The dreams, how can they help you? People would have got it. It would have been on the National Health Service. Well, it turns out you only have to do a partial little investigation, and you realise that there's loads of people researching dreams and how important it is, and how getting into an altered state can open up different areas of the mind. Now, whether you say that is from an esoteric source coming in, that's down to one's individual belief and understanding, I would say. Or whether it's just simply a knowledge base that's been perhaps passed on through some DNA in the hereditary of each individual person, might be another way of looking at it. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it works and you can get guidance for health issues that make you better. I mean, ultimately, if having an open mind helps you get on with life and have an abundant life and a healthy life, and you have an understanding of who you are and what you're here and your purposes, then does it really matter? So I suppose the finishing off on this particular monologue, which has been a bit rambling, I grant you, is simply that keeping an open mind to things has got to be more beneficial than having one that is either extremely negative or extremely closed off. Because who knows, if you put everything within this narrow band, and let's face it, so much that we've been told has been placed in this narrow band, and having an open mind to say, okay, it does sound a bit barking, it does sound a bit mad, but maybe there is something to it. I perhaps need more evidence before I'm fully on board with it, but maybe. And I guess that's the message I'm trying to get over, is having an open mind has surely got to then offer us possibilities, because once you say yes, there might be something, who knows what comes in and suddenly presents itself to us as a new way of looking at things. And in relation to where we are, as I was saying in a previous video, we keep concentrating on the negative and what is here now and what people are throwing at us. And we really do need to sort of get out of that goldfish bowl or that narrow band and say to ourselves, yes, all right, we know all of that's happening, but what else can we look at? Where could we go? What do we want from this life? And to me, that is the most important thing, having an open mind and then allowing positive ideas, positive vibrations, positive thoughts and messages come to us